Hello and welcome to Team Base Department's first video. I'm Roxonor from Base Department, and today I want to show off my Chrono Jet deck profile. This is the deck I've been playing for, I want to say, over a year now, since BSF 2023, I believe. And I've considered Jet one of the best decks. I still think he's one of the best decks. I don't know why he's not higher on tier lists. I think it's because a lot of people probably play very different. I want to say fundamentally incorrect, but I think he's one of the best decks, and he's one of the ones I've stuck with for the longest time now. But let's just get right into the deck profile. So the ride line is stays the same. I don't think there's much you can change here. I don't think you would want to change anything here. And even if we get the ban list update where you have to ride the units from the Stride deck set, I think in this case, in Jet specifically, it's a good thing. I think this is one of the best cards just because you don't have to hard draw into your Stride discard cost. This guy will just search it for the first Stride always. So yeah, that's the ride line. Nothing special. Pretty easy stuff there. Let's go into grade zeros. Way you do run the 8 crits, nothing special there. Got to push per game. The 3 fronts, 4 heals, and I like this OT. I found that a lot of people like PGing against your Vanguard, especially on stride turns. So usually if you have the Dark States one, the crit and the 10k don't matter. And then there's sometimes where you want the crit to matter, either to close out a game or push a lot of damage and pressure them. And then this essentially does the same thing. It will give you a crit, but you can move it. So if they PG your Vanguard, you can just move this to somewhere else and attack with that unit. And then you also can grab a PG or whatever else you may need from drop. So I think the trigger lineup is standard. Maybe the fronts can be argued, why aren't they draws? I think if you're playing the game fundamentally correct, you want to guard early as much as you can, especially if it's one card guards. And if you have draw triggers, let's say they just swing with their Vanguard unboosted, a draw trigger is one to pass and a front trigger is not one to pass. So that's the main argument there for why you would want to run this. And you also draw a lot in this deck, so much that sometimes deck out becomes a bit of an issue or a possible issue. So you don't want to run draws because that might cause you to lose games through deck out because you just turbo through the deck so fast. That's the trigger lineup right there. Moving on to the grade ones. First for Ling. I know a lot of people don't play this card. They don't see the value in it. They're like Gungan Ram is the preferred one. I can understand why you run Gungan Ram, right? Because it's two effects in one, a draw and a soul charge. So he's doing 2 for 1. I don't like random soul charging. That is one thing in this deck I've always been against. I've tested out those versions and they're nice when it's a high roll variant. That's how I like to see it. When you don't soul charge your OT, it's nice. When you do, it's not as nice. In my build specifically, I wanted the OT to always be live. That's something that I built the deck to do. So this thing will always be live in this variant. And by live, I mean you have the possibility of proccing it either defensively or offensively. So for Ling, to get Soul, you do need Soul, and I like being able to select what goes into Soul. And usually paired with that is the 4GG. I think 4 is the correct number. You want to draw as much as you can whenever you can. These are like the ideal openers turn 1, especially if you're going second. Put 1 down, put a Ling down. You fill your Soul requirements, put the GG, you draw, and then you can swing with both and apply pressure. I think Jet has the best turn 1 going second out of any deck in the format. And then I run 2 Zargons. These are essentially the tech slots. They can be anything you want. I personally run these because I don't want to random soul charge. If you're feeling more risky and want to give up the guaranteed OT proc, you can run Gungan Rams or anything else in this spot. They are a little slower because they're on boost instead of on place soul effects. So usually I just put these behind Vanguard to have that on hit pressure, force out either guard or they usually eat the Vanguard swings, which is nice. Next is the cat. Now the cat is you can only run one in the stride deck. I like to run it mainly for the shield. It's very good. Shield or 20k, so it puts you at 30 on turn 2. if you're going second. Which usually helps out a lot. It's an extra front essentially. And then sometimes there's games where people incorrectly deny you. Well, let's say you're at 1 CB and you've already used it. They pass and deny you. You will countercharge and fix that situation. Sometimes they think you won't have it in hand, but if you have an upstream, you just swing with that first and then call it out and countercharge and proc your stride. So that's that. And then for PG, I don't think this needs explaining. You have to run Elementaria, and you are able to run it in this deck, so that's a good thing. So yeah, those are the grade ones. Moving on to the grade twos. We'll start off with some cyclers here. For Lamina, I know people think the energy cycler is better. In some scenarios, it is. I like that this is live even on stride cost. You're able to draw off of her. So that's very nice. I run both. So I run 3 of the energy cycler. These are nice when guarding, and they're nice early, right during the right phase of the right deck. I just want to see these as much as possible. These are like your backups in case you don't see the Ling or GG combo. At least you're still drawing a lot. And if you see them later, you're able to draw. So this is like the main source of the draw engine. This plus GG, you're drawing a lot in this deck. And then the newest addition is Forgo. I like Forgo. You could do 3 and up your energy cycler. I think this is the best card. It helps going first now, so you're able to draw and have pressure. You can attack. It disappears into the Shiranui matchups. You can leave your board empty with this guy because you can call a booster and he can put the booster away as well. So I think this is just the MVP of the deck currently. Nice addition. Um, he draws another draw card. All your grade twos are essentially drawing you cards. Your grade ones are set up to draw with GG. So everything in this deck is drawing. And last is the 2 upstreams. I wanted to do 1, but if you damage it, it does hurt a little bit because he's one of the best grade 2 attackers during your stride turns. This guy's really good on your non-stride turns. And he can be good on your stride turns, but this guy's good to call out the extra grade 1. So you can call out a GG and draw. You can call out a Ling, set up the soul for later. And he's big. He's 15 on his own without needing soul because this guy can soul char or soul blast and you get 15 on him. But yeah, this is always going to be the best attacker on your stride turns. Grade threes. I run 3 Nocturcios. Again, another cycler essentially. You discard him, you draw. You discard him for your grade 3 ride line, you're going to draw. And you discard him for stride, you're going to draw. So essentially, like I've been repeating this whole time, every card in here is essentially drawing. So there's no need to run draw triggers, in my opinion, at least. For the fundamental aspect of guarding early, I feel like the fronts are better. But these are good. If you ever have to call one to board on a stride turn, you're able to get soul and draw. So again, always feeding that draw engine. Um, don't run 4 because I think 6 is the optimal grade 3 ratio in this deck. And then the other stride cost, you want to sometimes go into next age. I don't think you should be going into him that often. I think once per game is fine. Twice per game, I mean, you have the option. It's very slim. It's not likely to happen. And usually when I go into next stage, it's only because I have a bad hand with no shield value and I just want to check as many triggers as I can. And then the last grade 3 is the order because Shiranui meta, because people think that's best deck. I think it's one of the best decks, but not the best deck. But this is nice to just nullify one of their turns, essentially. I like the soul and the draw. Again, another card just draws. So everything in here is always drawing. I just think this deck goes so fast as the best turn 1. It's scaling. I don't have any real matchup issues. I think one of the worst matchups for this is maybe green decks, but that's only if they're going first. Or sorry, if I'm going first and they're going second. Um, yeah, going first is essentially my worst matchup, but the goat that just came out fixes a lot of that issue. And then it's just variance. So I built the deck to give you the best uh, positive variance for yourself because you can only control. You want to control the variance from your aspect because you can't control what your opponent's going to drive check or draw or whatnot. So everything you draw, even if you draw into triggers, let's say you're drawing to a lot of triggers, you either have a lot of shield or you're going to send them back to deck. This guy can send them back to deck if you just want to call a trigger and boost with that. And then you could put both back to deck so your triggers are live. The OT will always be live, and I think that's one of the greatest weapons that this deck has, in this build at least. So yeah, this has been my Chrono Jet deck profile. Thanks for watching. Hope you like and subscribe.